Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell y'all something. When you fully detach, that man gets restless. I'm talking about when you stop calling, stop texting, stop begging a little attention. Suddenly he want to know what you're doing. Now he want to show up asking, "You good?"
Oh, now you care.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something straight up. Detachment ain't about attitude, it's about value. It's about understanding that your peace of mind, your joy, your energy, they're all priceless. When you really start valuing yourself, you stop clinging to things and people that don't treat you like you matter. See, a lot of folks think detachment means you don't care anymore. No, baby, you care. You just care about you more than the situation that's draining you. That's self-worth. That's growth. That's maturity. You ever notice how when you love hard, you'll fight for people even when they stopped fighting for you? You'll justify their silence, make excuses for their inconsistency, and keep giving second, third, fourth chances, all in the name of love. But what you're really doing is teaching them that you'll tolerate less than you deserve. The day you finally get tired, not angry, but tired, that's when you start detaching. And let me tell you, that's one of the most powerful moments of your life. Because it's quiet. There's no announcement. No big goodbye. You just stop trying. You stop explaining yourself to people who pretend not to understand you. You stop overgiving to folks who underappreciate you. You just stop, and that's when your peace starts to speak louder than your words ever did. Detachment is an act of self-love. It's not cold-hearted, it's clear-minded. You're saying, I can't pour from an empty cup. You can love somebody and still walk away from them if the situation is costing you your peace, because peace is not negotiable. You can't build happiness in a place that keeps breaking your spirit. So when you detach, you're not being rude. You're being responsible with your soul. You're saying, I deserve better. And you mean it this time. See, here's what happens the moment you start valuing yourself. The world around you starts to shift. People who took you for granted will notice the change in your energy. They'll get uncomfortable because you're no longer responding the way you used to. You're no longer begging, no longer chasing, no longer explaining. And some people won't like that. They'll call you distant, say you've changed, say you're acting funny. But you know what? Growth feels funny to people who benefited from your weakness. Detachment isn't the absence of love. It's the presence of boundaries. It's the understanding that love should never cost you your sanity. And when you finally step back, when you stop fighting for the wrong thing, that's when the right thing to start showing up. You begin to see who's really for you. You start attracting people who match your energy, who don't drain you, but fill you up. You start sleeping better, smiling more, breathing easier. Because you're no longer carrying the weight of trying to be enough for someone who never saw your worth in the first place. Let me tell you, sometimes God won't bless you until you walk away from what's breaking you. You're praying for peace while holding on to chaos. You're asking for new doors to open while you're still camped out in old rooms. Detachment is saying, I trust meant for me won't require me to beg. That's faith. That's strength. That's self-respect. So when you finally learn to value yourself enough to walk away from what doesn't serve you, that's when your power returns. That's when your glow comes back. That's when life starts working in your favor, because you can't attract abundance while entertaining what drains you. Detachment isn't loss, it's alignment. It's choosing you, and that's a decision that will never fail you. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something about human nature, especially when it comes to men. We got this strange little thing wired into us. A man loves control. He loves to feel like he's running the show, like he knows where you are, what you're thinking, how you'll react. As long as he can predict you, he feels comfortable. He might not even appreciate you fully, but he's relaxed because he knows you ain't going nowhere. But the day you stop reacting, the day you stop chasing, the day you get quiet, oh, that's when the tables turn. That's when he starts to chase what he can no longer control. See, when a woman gives all her energy to a man, her affection, her time, he gets used to that. He starts thinking that love is guaranteed. He forgets that attention is something earned, not owed. So when you used to text him first, and suddenly you don't, when you used to explain your feelings and suddenly you stop, when you used to cry about what he did, and now you just smile and say, that's fine. He feels that shift deep down, and he might not understand it right away, but his instincts do. That's when that restlessness kicks in. Men are hunters by nature. We love the pursuit, we love the chase, we love the challenge. The problem is, once some men feel like they've caught you, they stop trying. They stop putting in effort because the mystery's gone. You're already there. But when you step back, when you reclaim your power and your peace, when you detach emotionally, that mystery returns. Now he's asking himself questions he never asked before. Why is she so calm? Why is she not calling me? Who's she talking to now? See, what used to be routine to him becomes unknown territory, and that's what drives him crazy. He starts to chase the version of you he thought he'd always have easy access to. Now, don't get it twisted. This ain't about playing games. This ain't about pretending you don't care when you really do. This is about shifting your focus back to yourself. When you detach, you stop giving him the emotional reaction he used to feed off. You stop participating in the same old arguments that go nowhere. You stop proving your worth because you finally realize your worth doesn't need proof. That's what shakes him up. Because see, he knew how to handle the emotional you. He knew how to calm you down, say a few sweet words, promise to do better, and you'd forgive him. But he doesn't know how to handle the peaceful, quiet, self-assured you. That version of you makes him nervous because that's the version that can walk away and mean it. A man starts to chase what he can no longer control because control made him lazy. When you were always available, he didn't have to show up right. He knew you'd be there no matter what. But when you start protecting your energy, when you stop being available for confusion, he has to earn his place again. He has to chase, not because you're running, but because you've stopped waiting. You've built a life that doesn't revolve around him. And now he's on the outside looking in. And that view, trust me, makes him restless. You ever see a man who thought that you figured out suddenly start doing things you begged him to do months ago? Suddenly he's texting first, calling more, trying to make plans, remembering anniversaries, acting right. All because now he feels that loss of control. But it's not really control he's missing, it's the access. You stopped giving him access to your energy, to your softness, to your attention, and now he's chasing the access he used to take for granted. And let me tell you something powerful. When you get to that place where he's chasing and you're not moved by it, that's growth. Because once you've detached, the chase doesn't excite you anymore. Peace does. You see through the pattern. You understand that he's not chasing love, he's chasing control. And that's when you know you've won, not because he came back, but because you no longer need him to. A man starts to chase what he can no longer control because for the first time, he's seeing what life looks like without your energy feeding his ego. He's realizing that your presence was power, that your love was a gift, that your attention was a privilege, not a guarantee. And when you finally understand that too, you'll never hand over that control again. Because once a woman learns her worth, she becomes the prize. And a real man, when he sees that, he'll either step up to keep her or step aside and watch her shine. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something about love. Real love, healthy love. It never has to be begged for. The moment you find yourself pleading, explaining, over-giving, then you're worth to somebody who already knows your value, but refuses to treat you accordingly. You've stepped out of love and straight into desperation. And desperation don't attract love, it repels it. Because see, when you stop begging for love, that's when you start attracting respect. That's when people see that you're not about to sell your heart at a discount just to feel wanted. So many people confuse love with effort. You think if you just try harder, give more, be more patient, more forgiving, more available, maybe they'll finally love you the way you deserve. But that's not how it works. The harder you beg for love, the less they respect it. Because in their mind, if you'll tolerate being half loved, they'll only ever give you half. They see you willing to carry the whole relationship on your back while they put in the bare minimum, and they think, I don't need to change. They ain't going nowhere. That's the danger of begging for love. You end up teaching someone how little effort it takes to keep you. But the day you stop begging, something changes. You move different. You stop explaining your worth and start showing it through your silence, through your boundaries, through the way you carry yourself. You stop chasing love and start living in a way that says, if it's not mutual, it's not mine, and that's when respect enters the room. Because people can feel that energy. You're no longer operating from lack. You're operating from abundance. You know you bring something special to the table, and you're no longer afraid to eat alone if that table doesn't appreciate you. You ever notice how when you stop calling, stop checking in, stop over-explaining, suddenly the same folks who ignored you start showing up again? That's not love waking up. That's respect being born. They realize you were serious about your boundaries. They realize you're not that same person who cried just to be seen. You found your backbone, and that right there demands attention. See, people might not love you right away for your strength, but they will respect it. They might not understand your silence, but they'll feel it. Respect often shows up in the quiet moments when they realize your absence is heavier than your presence ever was. And let me tell you something real. When you stop begging for love, you start seeing the truth about who really values you. Because love that's real doesn't need convincing. It meets you halfway. It shows up consistently. It doesn't make you feel like you're asking for too much. The right person doesn't make you beg. They make you feel seen without you having to perform. They give because they want to, not because you pleaded for it. That's what respect looks like. Mutual effort, mutual care, mutual peace. Now, I'm not saying don't love deeply. I'm not saying build walls around your heart. I'm saying love yourself first, enough to know when to stop begging. You can't force someone to see your worth when their vision is clouded by comfort or ego. You can only control how you respond. And the most powerful response you can give to someone who won't value you is distance. Quiet distance. Not out of spite, but out of self-preservation. Because when you stop chasing love, you start attracting the kind of people who respect your peace, your space, your energy. Respect grows where desperation ends. People start realizing they can't just come in and out of your life whenever they please. They start thinking before they speak to you, before they play with you, because they know you're not afraid to walk away anymore. That's power. That's confidence. That's the kind of energy that attracts everything you were chasing. But this time, without losing yourself. You see, when you stop begging for love, you create space for real love to find you. Love that's not built on fear of losing someone, but on the joy of sharing your life with someone who truly sees you. You create space for purpose, peace, and growth. You start shining again. You laugh louder, sleep better, dream bigger. And people notice that glow isn't makeup. That's self-respect lighting you up from the inside. And here's the funny thing. Sometimes the very person you stopped begging will come back around confused. They'll say, "You've changed." No, you didn't change. You just remembered who you were before you forgot yourself trying to be enough for somebody else. You got tired of begging for love when all along you were the blessing. You stopped fighting for a seat at a table you built in the first place. And that's what makes them respect you, because now they see the truth. They see that you don't need their validation to be valuable. You don't need their attention to be radiant. When you stop begging for love, you stand taller. You speak differently. You walk into rooms like you belong there because you do. You attract people who match your energy, not those who drain it. Attract love that's free, not forced. You attract respect that's genuine, not guilt-given. Because real respect doesn't come from pleasing others. It comes from honoring yourself first. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something straight from the heart. Peace is more powerful than pressure. I've lived long enough to know that you can't force life, can't rush love, and can't beg blessings to show up faster than they're supposed to. Pressure makes you chase things you're not ready for. But peace puts you in position to receive what's already meant for you. Peace don't scream, it don't compete, it don't beg. It just stands tall, quiet, confident, and unbothered. And that kind of peace is magnetic. That kind of peace makes people wonder what you know that they don't. Now, pressure. That's something we all know too well. You feel it when you're trying to make somebody love you back. You feel it when you're trying to keep people happy who don't even notice your effort. You feel it when you're scared to let go because you don't trust what comes next. Pressure comes from fear. Peace comes from faith. Pressure says, I gotta fix this now. Peace says, if it's meant for me, it'll find its way back. And I'm telling you, when you start choosing peace over pressure, your whole life starts to shift. We live in a world where everybody's trying to prove something. You gotta look a certain way, post a certain way, love a certain way. Everybody's competing for attention, validation, applause, and it's exhausting. That's pressure. You wake up chasing approval and go to bed feeling empty. But peace don't need a stage. Peace don't need an audience. Peace is sitting in silence and knowing you're enough without anybody clapping for you. When you find that level of calm, when you stop performing for acceptance, you start living for purpose. Peace is powerful because it don't react, it responds. When somebody tries to drag you into chaos, peace says, not today. When people gossip, peace stays quiet. When folks push your buttons, peace don't move. Because peace ain't weakness. It's strength under control. Anybody can explode when they're angry, but it takes power to stay calm when everything around you is trying to shake you. That's what real maturity looks like. That's what real confidence feels like. When you're peaceful, you don't need to argue to prove your point. Your energy does the talking. You see, when you operate from peace, people can't manipulate you anymore. They lose control because you're no longer reacting to their noise. Pressure is how people control you. They push your emotions. They test your patience. They make you doubt yourself. But peace breaks that cycle. You stop being predictable. You stop letting people push you into decisions made out of fear or desperation. You start listening to your spirit instead of your stress. That's when you realize that peace is power. Quiet, steady, unstoppable power. Let me tell you something I've learned the hard way. Pressure will make you chase what's not yours, but peace will make what's yours chase you. When you're peaceful, you're aligned. You're not forcing relationships to fit. You're not begging opportunities to stay. You're not bending over backward just to be chosen. You're trusting the process. You're letting time do its job. That's why peaceful people always seem to win in the long run. Because they don't waste energy fighting battles that ain't theirs. They know when to walk away, when to rest, when to let go. And that's the kind of wisdom you only learn through heartbreak, disappointment, and still choosing calm over chaos. Now, let's be real. It takes work to get there. Choosing peace ain't easy, especially when you're used to living under pressure. You're used to fighting for your place, this world offending your worth, explaining yourself to people who never listened. You're used to proving your loyalty to folks who wouldn't cross the street for you. So, yeah, the first time you say, I'm not doing this anymore, it feels weird. It feels uncomfortable. But peace always starts in discomfort because you got to unlearn your need to control everything. You got to get comfortable not knowing what's next and still trusting that it'll be okay. And here's the thing about peace. Once you find it, you start protecting it like your life depends on it, because it does. You stop answering calls that mess with your energy. You stop explaining yourself to people who don't deserve an explanation. You stop showing up to every argument you're invited to. You learn that silence can say more than words ever could. You start enjoying your own company because your peace feels too good to give up. That's when people start noticing a glow about you. You look lighter. You sound happier. That's because peace will do for you what pressure never could. It'll heal you from the inside out. Peace is more powerful than pressure because peace attracts what pressure repels. When you're peaceful, you make better choices. You attract better people. You move smarter, slower, stronger. Pressure makes you chase what's temporary. Peace brings you what's lasting. Pressure screams, I need it now. Peace whispers, I'm already enough. Pressure is loud, heavy, stressful. Peace is soft, confident, sure. And once you've tasted peace, once you've seen how life feels when you're not always fighting or forcing, you'll never go back to chaos again. Peace will make you walk away from arguments mid-sentence and not care who wins. Peace will make you delete the text you were about to send and sleep just fine anyway. Peace will make you realize that protecting your energy is better than proving your point. And when you get to that place, when nothing outside of you can shake what's inside of you, that's when you understand what real power feels like. Because peace ain't passive. Peace is power under grace. Peace is the quiet confidence that says, I know who I am, I know what I bring, and I refuse to lose myself trying to force what's not meant for me. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. You can't have a real connection without boundaries. People think love is all about saying yes, being available,